Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting.
Understand what the point is here, what they're trying to do. My comment is, why would we not make it either a resident of Bandera City or a business owner in the city, period? Since this is a city-funded effort.
Okay.
And just, so not necessarily that somebody has to live in the city, but if they do, that's fine. But also if they owned or ran a business in the city, then I could see that. I'm just thinking that there may be some concern if we had a board made up of only people that lived in the county deciding what happens with city money. That's my concern.
Okay, I'll tell you what, guys, why don't we back up and have a motion or no motion and before we get too deep into this discussion?
Well, I did. I made a motion to
I never
approve.
got a second though, Rebecca.
Right. I'll second. For
Thank
discussion.
you. Just for the sake of,
Sure.
yes, ma'am.
So in the discussion with the city attorney, the reason we edited this section of the bylaws was to reflect local government code. Just to leave it as general as it's stated in local government code. And one of the comments that really resonated with me personally was that you don't know, you know, your community has intellectual resources that you could be excluding based on the criteria that was in place. And council has to be responsible for making those appointments. So, I mean, you can't really make a full prediction, but I wouldn't really expect to see an EDC board made of all county residents who have no like relevant interest in the city for that. And what was the other piece? It just simplifies it a bit.
May I expand on that just a bit?
Go right ahead.
Most of our business owners do live in the county. And if we broaden it to a city resident or a county resident, if a business owner wants to apply for a seat on the EDC, there's nothing in the world to stop them. There could be 3 business owners on the EDC because of the way it's set up. There could be 7 business owners, the way it's set up, depending on whoever council appointed. But that's going back to being very specific as it was, what you're trying to avoid, to get it more broad, to make it more all-encompassing. You know, if you specify a business seat, then are you know, so. And then if you don't,
well, or they could be a resident. I mean, but I guess my thing is just. All right.
and I thought my hearing aid would have been a long time.
My God, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's not your fault. That was rough. I lost my train of thought. So I imagine so.
Sorry.
So I see your point too. Again, I'm just thinking of the citizens of the city overall, you know, and wanting to make sure that the people who are appointed to positions and making decisions, you know, with city money have a vested interest in the city is my point. But,
Well, again, that would be council's decision when it comes to
Sure.
appointing time. So, so we have a motion to approve, is that correct? And a second for discussion.
So just real quick though, is that the only change to the bylaws?
That's the only major change that I could see.
Okay, that's the only one I thought was there as well, but I just wanted to double check because I didn't have the 2 documents to compare with highlights of the changes specifically. So I just wanted to be sure.
I actually did. No surprise. On 3.02 terms, and I don't know if you guys have the original.
I don't.
No,
Okay.
I don't.
So where it says terms, that was in the original, but then underneath the paragraph is per local government code, chapter 501, BEDC directors may not serve more than 6 consecutive years. Additionally, a BEDC director may not hold an elected or appointed position with either the city or of Bandera or Bandera County for a period of 1 term before they can reapply to serve as a director of the BEDC or to run for election or apply for appointment for a council, board, or commission of the city of Bandera or Bandera County. And I know that's long, but I mean, first of all, I was wondering about the chapter code.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that was long, and I would almost want to hear it again. But
Okay.
the only thing I would say is that if it is in local government code,
Right.
then it doesn't necessarily need to
Okay.
be restated.
Well, and
in the
that's just what I
bylaws.
wanted to confirm, that it did not mean that we were taking it out of our bylaws, as long as,
No, ma'am.
okay.
Right, because if it's in local government code, we don't have a choice.
Just
in
the
that.
first part, or is that just something?
I'm
I just
just
thought
really
as a
not
change and
sure.
was not sure if city council had made that change or if it was something. Just a thought.
The city council cannot change that.
Well, no, they can't change the chapter code is what I'm saying. I wasn't sure if it was just the first sentence or if the whole entire paragraph was what was in the chapter
The entire paragraph
code. Okay,
is in the government code.
so it doesn't need to be in the bylaws.
No, ma'am.
Just wanted to confirm that.
Was that the only other difference that you saw?
You know, I wasn't able to look through it entirely because I only got it about 2 hours before the meeting.
I sent it to you this morning.
Not the bylaws.
Oh,
You had sent me,
My bad.
that's okay.
I apologize. Well, I'll tell you what, since we're gonna recommend changes back to council,
I think just in,
just this one, yes.
so I would amend my motion to approve the bylaws with one change, inserting the word "or" between items 1 and 2 under section 3.01. If that motion could be.
Yeah, I just.
I'll second for discussion because I had a question
Okay.
on,
And whether we approve them or not, I mean, we can't approve them tonight.
That was my
It's gonna have to go back to council again, because they have to add the or. We can't add the or.
and then would it come back to
It's gonna come
EDC?
back to us.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to verify.
Did
Council,
you verify that with
Yes.
attorney?
Seems
Okay,
redundant.
yeah.
so we have a motion to approve with the addition of this, which means it's gonna go back to council and come back to us. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Okay. Alrighty, bylaws, where are we? Agenda. Here we go. Okay, next. Item 6, discussion of possible action regarding removal of Lee Carell as signer at Bandera Bank.
Motion to approve.
Rebecca makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Laura seconds. Discussion.
Do we need another signer at this time?
Temporarily, right now, I am a signer. So I'd rather wait until we have the whole group here before we get the signer, if that's all right with y'all. All in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Okay, item 7. Discussion and possible action regarding status of the 1920 EDC budget. That's in here. Here, I know it's in here.
It's in the packet behind the bylaw.
Mine's over here, I think. I've got
The
so much
last 2
stuff.
pages.
Hmm?
Mine's right after the minutes.
Yes, it is. Okay. Uh,
The last 2 pages are what you
Got it.
sent.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, and just, sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you guys okay with kind of just going through this top to bottom and raising any questions or?
I'm fine with it.
Well, I just noticed the first thing that I noticed under revenue, the first section was accounts receivable, this actual 400 versus the budgeted 3,600. I don't know, I'm not familiar with what that item is, or is anyone?
Which
It's
one?
the-
I'm sorry.
Revolving loans, isn't it?
Which one?
30300. accounts receivable.
That should have been, I'm pretty sure, the loan.
Okay.
That's yeah, that's Mulberries, and
Yes,
that's the only one, right?
the only
Okay.
one. Yes.
So in our next budget, the 3,200 will carry forward into the 2021 budget.
Okay. So when I look at, now I'm down at the line item, or I don't know what, the account administrative for 40,000, right? And we have a list of administrative expenses. So I'm just wondering about these specific projects. So 47,008, 009. Is there a reason those aren't paid out? That anybody is aware of?
It has?
The
things
Bandera
have been
meat
paid.
market was.
The only one that hasn't been paid is JW Land Development from what I'm looking at.
Actual.
Now I'm showing that the,
remaining
oh,
0.
Your actual is the first column. It's the backwards from,
Yeah, I do see that. And I don't see anything in the actual column for those items. That what am
Oh,
I
you're
missing?
right.
I'm showing only the JW land development
Has
has been
been
paid.
paid.
that
Right,
has been
yeah.
paid. Okay, I'm reading it
Yeah.
backwards. Okay, let me say this about that. The 12,000 in job training, we will not be paying this year. The 60,000 to the hotel, we will not be paying.
Yeah, that's
this year.
why I didn't ask about those two.
I'm not certain about the status of the museum or the meat market.
I believe they received a check in March or April. I thought for this fiscal year,
Okay.
for the 1920, I thought
We'll want to check on
it had
that
come to the count. It had come to EDC.
for approval.
Megan, could you confirm that, please, ma'am? Not tonight necessarily, but because we are going to be going into budget.
And
And if not, we need to wrap up anything remaining in this fiscal year
Absolutely.
immediately, I would think. Also, the city park upgrades that I believe needs to be paid out.
Actually, that's carried over from the 2019, 18-19 budget into the 19-20 budget. So this is an ongoing project. That's not the one. The one that
That's not the one for
the
the
park upgrades? No,
ballpark.
no. The ballpark is two separate $10,000 ones.
See that?
So the park, I'm sorry. Oh, no. The park upgrades then, is that for the playground equipment?
There's
or-
10,000 for equipment and 10,000 for the baseball field. And so far we've got most of those receipts wound up and ready to go. Just have to get the bill for the bleachers for the softball field, and then we'll be ready to submit those to EDC.
I don't see those line items in this budget though.
Mhm. I guess maybe that's why I didn't understand. It's not broken out, I guess.
Megan, any ideas what's going on with that?
If
Because
I-
it's on our spreadsheet.
When we did a budget amendment for the COVID, if I remember correctly, I think 5,000 came from that city park upgrades.
I apparently just don't have my stuff. It was my understanding that what was amended was this year's park improvements or whatever it was, and not the 20,000 that we had already allocated for the, I'll look into that too. Here's the spreadsheet, because it is on the spreadsheet.
I don't know that I have the spreadsheet. Oh, wait.
That's the proposed budget I put together the other day.
Where in the world? It's very, very tiny, but I have this. Sorry. Did y'all hear that?
Is it on that one?
It's very tiny.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, I found it.
Oh,
I know.
I can't.
Yeah, I have glasses if you need.
Okay. Let's see.
This was the original prior to the
Here it is.
COVID amendment.
City Park and City Park.
Okay, so that line item started the fiscal year with 25,000 in it. So I see they took 10 out for COVID. But I don't know if they put those two requests somewhere else under a project or something different.
It's accounted for here.
Okay.
And again, it's from 9/2019, so I guess it just didn't get carried over into the budget. Because remember, we were closing the budget year, and we put it before council at the end of the budget, the end of the year, to get the funds during that budget year, but they weren't going to be spent until the coming budget year.
So you're saying it would have been reflected in
The
the
prior year budget.
18-19 budget?
Yep.
These are the minutes that.
Oh,
created the
okay.
COVID.
Thank you.
September, from September the 4th, we would have been down to 18-19 budget, not the 19-20 budget.
I don't really know what to say about it. It hasn't been paid though.
No, we haven't submitted any receipts yet.
Well, okay. So below that, you've got, are you gonna, sorry, just back to the parks piece. I think we need to find where in the budget that those line items were located, because it was done under a budget adjustment. I vaguely remember. I think we need to go back and find
The
some
prior
minutes
year, yeah.
and locate that. And
Deanna, you
Try
ready
to get it wrapped up.
that?
I agree, it was done with an adjustment, but I thought that it was I thought we carried it over on the 1920 budget.
Well, we did a budget adjustment in the 18-19.
Right.
To be paid, but we didn't collect, we wouldn't collect until this budget year. It's a carryover, it's a prior year.
Well, that's what I mean,
expense.
it should have been carried
Right,
over into
that's
this
what you
one.
said, right?
Yeah. It's a prior year expense, we just need to add it in.
This bond payment principal has not been,
Yes, it has.
okay. So that's,
And the interest.
okay.
That's
Is Is there anything that needs to come before the EDC to wrap up this fiscal year?
We've got the outstanding stimulus payments, is that correct?
And TT. I think it's on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what about these other these other items that were budgeted for and not?
Well, I couldn't tell you from this if they were paid or not either.
Okay, so to be determined.
Yeah, I think we need some more time.
Is there anything else that we need to be addressing with this budget then?
I believe it's kind of like the overview that we give council. We give you an idea of where we need to go. We're gonna have to make some budget amendments before we close out this budget. For things like, where was it? The audit fees, we moved some out of that for the COVID. We're gonna have to move some out of COVID back into that, or from fund balance or somewhere back into that. EDC works a little bit differently than the city council. It's kind of it's a mix of private sector and government accounting. We don't really have to do the same sorts of accounting that government does. So we can a little more easily move the stuff around. It still has to be accounted for. It still has to be taken care of.
Okay, so we need to put a budget adjustment before city council, like this month. Council has to
You do
approve
not
an
know.
EDC budget adjustment.
No, ma'am, because we won't get our August and September sales tax revenue until October and November. So we won't close out our 2019-20 budget until December. And that's when we'll make all of our budget adjustments.
Okay,
The same with the city. We don't get all of our revenue until later in the year.
when does the 2021 budget have to be filed?
Our budgets have to be approved by council at any time during the whole year. Since it's not part of the city's budget anymore, we don't have to have it filed with them. I would like to have it with them by, no later than, I'd like it September 30th to them. But if we can't get it to them by then, we can certainly do it within the next week or two. And I'll get with Megan, I'll get her to run me a check report. Well, actually, you're the new secretary treasurer. Why don't you run me a check report, ma'am? I will sit down and look at this and get it all straightened out again before we meet again. And if y'all are for it, we'll get us a special meeting very quickly and get on with it.
We don't need any action then at this time. There's
No,
none
ma'am,
to be
this is not an
taken.
action
Okay.
item. Just a FYI kind of line. Okay, moving right along. Item 8, discussion of possible action regarding the funding of building improvement grants for TJ's at the Old Forge at 807 Main Street. That's been approved by council. Laura, I believe you had some discussion about this?
Yes, I'd like to, because maybe you can help me, Deanna, a little bit understand. So I was looking at this so I could have all the facts, and I see where they applied for their permitting, which is great, and they submitted receipts and everything. And I understand that, I guess this is an ongoing project that they're still working on.
Is that for the kitchen expansion?
And well, that was kind
The
of one of
building improvement?
it-
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
the
okay.
building improvement. So I'm not sure if they're completely done or not, but the final inspections by Bureau Veritas have not been done. So that's my concern and I'm not sure if that's something that's supposed to be done, because, if they're requesting money for the project, then I would think we need to do our due diligence to make sure everything is done in order and inspected and approved. But I don't know what the EDC guidelines
In the
for that
past,
are.
it was never required of the Bureau. I'm not sure they changed that.
Rebecca?
Where's the checklist? Wasn't there a checklist that went with the incentive programs?
Okay, this is a matching grant. It's not an incentive.
Okay.
It's
Well,
a-
that is one of the incentive programs.
Well, okay,
yes.
but it's a matching grant. It doesn't require a performance agreement. It has I don't know what it has. I haven't seen the original paperwork
They
yet.
actually do, usually for these, they do a performance agreement, and usually on the performance agreement, it has the checklist. And it was the sales tax, you verified that they
Uh-huh.
committed city sales tax, got all their permits, verified the receipts, and I'm trying to think.
For the building improvement grants, I see it looks like they submitted their sales tax information, but if there's a checklist, I didn't see it. Not to say it's not here, but I didn't see it.
Do you have the TJ's file?
I do,
Okay.
yes.
That was one of my questions. I've never seen the original performance agreement, so I don't really know what the terms of it are. Do you know if one was actually?
So usually when we did the incentives, the building, you know, if it was not over a certain amount of years, certain amount of checks, that was the agreements that went to the lawyer. The performance agreements for the incentives, like the facade, building improvement, whatnot, they were kind of a standard. You just changed the names and you changed the
Okay.
amount. And they usually weren't done until everything was verified.
Mhm.
And then the checks and the performance agreement were signed. And that had changed because at one point it was just the president did it, and then it changed to where there were three. And I think in the TJ's file, didn't they get a facade? So that performance agreement in there should have a checklist on it.
For the facade.
And then some of the other ones that have them too, they will be in their file just to. So they should have a performance agreement for was it a facade that they got? Hold on.
There's a lot of stuff in here and it's kind of all over the place, so I'm not sure. I was trying to make heads or tails of it. Didn't have a whole lot of time to go through everything, but
Because I think that they were paid out for their facade.
yeah, and I don't know, because
It's showing that they had they got their facade improvement, which was November 2019. And so they don't have a performance agreement in there at all?
I don't see one.
Do you want to pass that to Deanna? Because she's super familiar with
Yes, thank
the
you.
paperwork.
Thank you. So that should have been. So these are just the applications. I don't see a performance agreement in here either.
Yeah, that was
Oh, here it
everything.
is.
Oh, okay.
So here is now that's the job training assistant. And this is the facade improvement. So what would happen is then they got the building and you can see they're basically the same. And they just changed the ones in bold. Sorry.
The title.
Now on the back is the checklist of what was required to get the check issued.
Is the checklist the same for all of the different types of?
It was.
Okay.
I mean, I
So
don't
does that-
believe it was changed, but you can pass it.
So there's no requirement for a final inspection.
Well, it says City of Bandera, so have all state of Texas and City of Bandera and BDC rules been followed? So a final inspection would be a requirement.
Even though it was ongoing.
Well, and that's my question.
And then the only reason I bring that up is because before they're gonna spend $70,000, as soon as they got at least $20,000,
Yes.
they got their $10,000 check, but then they were supposed to be doing more.
And I guess, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it.
Sure.
I'm asking the question because I
Sure.
don't know. So my concern is, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, if part of the work that was done, let's say was a vent that was installed. And what if it wasn't done correctly? What if it's a
Sure.
fire hazard and it's not inspected and it's not signed off? And then that's my concern.
But they had their public inspections and their mechanical inspections?
Not the final inspections.
No,
No.
not, but has that been
Um,
inspected?
They have some inspections, yes, but not so, I mean, again, I'm just raising the question. I just don't know enough. So I just wanted to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row. That's all.
I would like to make a motion to approve, so that we can complete this grant out.
I'll second.
As far as, I mean, I feel like, of course, their final inspection is going to be required, but I feel like too, from this checklist and from what Deanna said, and I know you're familiar with how things have gone in the past, that I don't think we need to wait for the completion.
Okay.
Again, they have this larger scale project, and the EDC had agreed to a portion of it, and they've more than spent, their required portion. So I don't want to hold them up on this anymore, and I'd like to wrap up the projects for the year.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Okay, moving on to item 9, update on EDC stimulus grant applications that are outstanding. We have 3, I believe. And
I have 3 here. I don't know.
I don't have those here. I did get your email. I just don't have that hard copies. in
There
my
were 3
packet.
applications total. Of the 3, all 3 applicants were given a final timeline to respond for the 30th meeting, and 2 of the 3 turned in additional documents.
Rosa's was not completed by the deadline, is that correct? Still missing sales tax revenue, receipts? Okay, then we won't consider this one. We called it. She was given every opportunity. She was called, she was contacted, she was asked to bring this in. Her sales tax was not there.
Okay.
We still have 3 monkeys and we have Gone Quilting. 3 monkeys was an essential business, as I understand. So they would be eligible for 1,000. And Gone Quilting was a non-essential and we eligible for 2,500.
Let me look at one while you look at the
Sure.
other. Oh, these I did have the email of.
Hmm?
These I did have the. Okay, so more than enough supporting documentation to fund the full amount on both, correct?
That's correct.
Can I make a motion to approve both
It's all in one thing, all put together. We'll wrap this up and be done with
Gone
that part.
Quilting stimulus grant and 3 monkeys stimulus grant?
1,000 for 3 monkeys and 2,500 for Gone Quilting.
Mhm.
Do we have a second?
Oh, second.
Laura seconds.
No, I had a
Discussion?
Yeah, well, yes, because it doesn't say discussion and possible action, it just says update, so. is that-
Ma'am?
Oh, thanks.
Well, that's
Sorry.
for us to be. Okay, well then we will.
Well, the update isn't that we're issuing those checks. That's the update. And does this wrap up the program? No?
I thought there was a deadline of the 30th.
Council approved, yeah, for this part.
For
of
this
the-
portion, not the.
Yeah, this will wrap this one up.
Gotcha.
The council approved the HOP fund one, and that'll be another agenda item, because I want it to be really specific and quick and hard, and let's get this over with. I don't mean hard, I mean, hit it hard, get it done, and get it out of the way.
Agreed.
Okay, then. Okay, then we'll just put this on a future agenda.
Is that really necessary?
Hmm.
Is that necessary?
See, this one is not written like ours where it says discussion of possible action on the following.
And then a list, that's what I
Well, it
missed.
is on, yeah,
Hmm.
okay. Whatever you think needs to happen.
But you're right about this one. Okay, we'll be discussing another special meeting soon, as soon as we get to that portion of this one, so we'll put that immediately on the next special meeting. Okay, item 10 is the workshop, the fiscal year 2021 budget. I corrected by adding. Now, this is just something that I threw together, guys. This is not set in stone by
Are we
me.
looking at the one behind the L and D?
Yeah.
Go.
Everybody take a look. So basically, let me summarize what I did. If you look at the revenue, I don't have everything we have in the bank. I don't have everything we have in CDs, and I don't have anything up there except our
Projected sales tax.
our projected revenue from the city, which is 287,500. The interest income we'll have to verify. The accounts receivable as of right now is 3,200 instead of 36. We just confirmed that just a minute ago. So that'll change these numbers. And then you go down, you'll see the total revenue is 292,1. So let's just pretend I haven't changed the numbers, okay? So then I also brought in a prior year fund balance of 159,850 to balance this budget. It's a balanced budget. It's not the way it's written right now. So that would leave us our 110 that we have in CDs and maybe another 150 in the bank in cash, depending on how the year closes out. And I would like to see us consider that whatever you decide to do with the budget, because we don't know what's going to happen. This COVID thing has really hit us all hard. It's still hurricane season. There's no telling. So just consider that as you're looking at the budget. I'll show you what I proposed. What did I do? I just pretty much copied everything from the last year's budget. I did increase the audit fees, I believe. Yes, I increased the audit fees to what we've already spent this year on audit fees, so I matched that. And the attorney fees, I put the original 10,000 back in from last year's budget, so that's 30,000. Now, our 10% marketing and promotional expense, that is the 287.5. 10% is 28,750. But we can also carry over the balance of this year's promotional account, which we won't have until October. November, I'm sorry, we won't have that until November. But we can go ahead and stick a number in there and then amend, or put no number in there and amend our budget before we file our final budget. I said, no, that's not right. We'll stick a number in there, we'll look and see what we have for the 2021 budget. And then as the more money comes in, we will ask council to allow us to amend our budget to reflect that. That came out right that time. Okay, these are the things for next year, the next fiscal year. The hotel. They have to, there's a lot of stipulations on them being paid, and part
The
of it is
performance
that,
agreement.
ma'am?
The performance agreement.
Yes, as well as with us and the agreement with the TDA. So should all go well, we'll owe them 12,000. We'll owe them 60,000 on that infrastructure portion. And then someone was questioning me, it's not until the next budget year that the next 30,000, and then a year from that, the next 30,000 will be due. So we don't have to account for that this year. JW Land Development, I believe this will be our last year on that. Bandera Meat Market. I don't know where we are on that one.
It'll be
Do
the
you,
last,
Diane?
the 2021 will be the last
Last year, that's what I thought. And, excuse me, what about the museum?
thing.
I'm so sorry, guys. And then here, of course, we have the two for the Bandera City Park. So that's 153,000. Okay, what I have done is city projects, infrastructure improvements. I put aside 100,000, put in 100,000 into this for next year's capital improvement project. And I based that on the yellow highlighted part is what we'll be doing for the first year. That is commercial districts. The total for the year is 441,000, I believe, or something like that. So we wouldn't be splitting the whole bill for it, but we would be putting something into the pot. The next thing is the city park. Just another 25,000 for whatever.
Okay, and just a comment too, we have, our bridged application is in with the Texas Water Development Board. Should that, be approved, oh, you've got that on the next page.
Page 2. City of Bandera Master Plan Phase 1. And then not knowing at what point we were on that when I did this up, Rebecca,
Mhm.
City of Bandera other projects, but we don't even know yet what we're looking at on that. So, you know, other projects, enterprise grant, at any time we can pull that money out of our savings, so to speak, and bring it over here to whatever you want to use it for. If y'all want to put, then let's go on down. Private enterprise grants and loans. Everything in red were things that I don't know what y'all want to do with that. For the incentive programs, I don't know what y'all want to do with that for this coming year. If you want to, I don't want to put a flat, big chunk in there like we've been doing. It just leaves it. I'd like to, I don't know, maybe y'all just give me some input. And the other one is the debt service on the Texas Water Development Board loan, the principal. Talked to Dan about it in an email, and he's under the impression that it would take an election to do that. The proposition that got us the
EDC.
city sales tax,
Mhm.
Proposition read, the adoption of a sales tax within the city at the rate of 0.5% as authorized by section 4B article blah, 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 as amended in the Development Code Act of 79, with the proceeds thereof to be used and applied to the purposes authorized by the act, including but not limited to the use exclusively for water, sewer, drainage, and street improvements, and the maintenance and operating costs associated with such projects. So it was a very specific proposition. He said, they would have to, the voters would have to allot money for this project. He hasn't seen this yet, so we'll send it to him and see if this covers the thing. If it doesn't, so be it.
Well, he pointed out one of two ways to put some funds in the EDC budget for the city infrastructure project. So if in the event something needs to go on a ballot, we can really spend this year planning for that and executing it at our next local election. But otherwise, so I appreciate what you've done and put together. We've got our kind of ongoing obligations accounted for. And then the rest of this budget looks very different than it has in the past. And so far as you've got that capital improvement on the streets, since we got our street assessment done. And then we've got our park in here. So we're really for this budget that we're looking at, this proposed budget, we have 0 allocated for the incentive programs. So that's different, right, than the last few years.
Well, there's
have
a
been.
place here to put it. I just need y'all to decide what you want to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know that, that I really feel like, I guess maybe some more discussion with citizens, maybe more discussion in a workshop, but I like what I'm seeing here because these infrastructure pieces really need to be done. And the city master plan needs to be done, so that can inform all of our decisions. And then in the future, possibly we could bring back some of those programs as they fit into and support the master plan. But I'm also just really kind of okay with, for this fiscal year, pumping the brakes on that and focusing more of the attention towards some of these infrastructure projects, which do absolutely support our businesses and are necessary for.
Deanna?
So.
I think at the last meeting, that was a motion made to suspend it. It didn't really say how long, but to suspend it, because I think that was that board's thought too, that they wanted to focus on that.
Yeah.
But would that mean that these, the COVID stimulus, is that fallen into here, or we're gonna hope to get that finished by this
Well, I
year?
hope we have this finished by the end of this
Okay,
year.
perfect.
But
So we
even
have
if
to
we
put
don't, I
another
mean,
one.
we can make it a prior year expense.
Sure, sure.
And we can just write those checks. We're not gonna close this thing until middle of December
Yeah.
probably. So, but what I want to tell you is, let's say for instance, I can't think of anything specific that would qualify, but let's say the floor fell out of the kitchen. Well, it can't fall out of the kitchen. Let's say, well, let's say the ceiling fell in the kitchen
Yeah.
at a local business.
Sure.
Unforeseen, not enough insurance to cover it, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's no reason why a business owner, an individual property owner couldn't come to EDC and say, look, here's the deal. And then at that time, we would make a budget amendment and we pull more money out of here to put into here. to
Which
make
would
it work.
have to go before council, so it would
Right.
require council's approval,
But it's
which
gonna
is
be- if it's over 10,000, it's going to council anyway.
Right.
true.
I mean, it's not like this
I
is
agree.
the end of all spending as far as
Right.
for the city and its businesses.
So just to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, we'd be putting the brakes on some of these incentive deals that the EDC has for businesses. And again, not to say they're going away, but just putting them on hold, on ice for a while. And so we can take care of some of these capital improvement projects that need our help. Is that right?
Right.
Am I understanding
ma'am.
that right?
Exactly, because the EDC itself said, hey, we've got to stop doing this. It's not like council said, hey, y'all need to quit doing this. Y'all have decided to pull it back in, am I correct? I mean,
Absolutely.
y'all mean me, I was there.
No, yeah, sure. That was-
Yeah, because number one, we're not generating, I mean, we've done great this year, but who knows what this coming year is gonna be, because we're gonna begin to really see the effects of the pandemic in our sales tax revenue the next couple of months, 6 months probably. So, if y'all have no objection, I'll ask Deanna to put this into the budget format, or the budget versus actual format, I guess is where we would put it, right, under
Yes, ma'am.
proposed. And we'll take a look at it when we get back to it, and we'll get together and figure out where this money is. Yes, ma'am.
One more thing. At our previous meeting, we had talked about an app for Bandera,
Yes, ma'am.
and I just didn't want to let that fall through the cracks. If we could somehow allocate, or if it needed to go back for budget amendment, that's great. I'm just going to keep bringing it up so that y'all know I think it's a fantastic idea.
How about, because I wrote it on my notes, how about if I actually write it on here?
That might help.
Bring it up again during the comments. Anything further about this budget, though?
Well, I just wonder if what Deanna's talking about is something you want to go ahead and throw in the budget at this time.
Well, we don't know
for
yet.
discussion.
Do we have an idea?
Know what?
The cost of creating an app and maintaining it?
Well, a previous EDC member had went to a local guy, I guess, that does it, and he says around 5,000.
Well, why don't we just make a note?
And that's just from what I remember. I didn't see anything or hear anything, and I think she was going to do more research, and it didn't happen.
Okay, well, we would put that under administrative expenses, would we not? That's really the only category it would
I
go
think-
under. in the
Sure,
budget.
sure. I think that's what the website ended up being, was under administrative, I think.
You put it wherever you think it ought to go, and then we'll talk about it when you get it back. Okay, so Deanna, you can get a draft together and send it out. Give everybody something to look at. Remember, we're not gonna gang up and look at it all at one time, but a couple of us at a time can get together and talk it over. And anyway, any other comments about the potential budget? Okay. Item 11. Can we have just real numbers on the next agenda so I don't have to translate it? It's Roman numbers, folks, in case you don't know what I'm looking at. Item 11, board comments. Okey dokey.
No comment.
Item 12, establish the next EDC meeting. Guys, I'd really like to have one quickly, but apparently do we need to go to, I was not aware of Jerry's time. Can she make 6:30 or 7?
She didn't have a problem with the 6:30. That was
6:30 on a Thursday.
right. And she may could even do it on another day. I mean, I think that more
Okay, well, the city
than
has-
anything, it was the
We
time.
have a budget workshop.
On the 10th.
Well, and we have public hearings too. We have public hearings on the 10th.
I just put it into one item
Yeah,
on my
we got something
calendar.
to do on the 10th and the 17th. So, if we could do it at 6:30 any day, y'all are available except a Thursday, and I think Tuesday, the 20th, we're doing something. If we could get the budget finished up in time, we're gonna.
So
September.
the 20th is not a
No,
Tuesday.
that's the
It's a
22nd.
Sunday. The 20th is a Sunday.
22nd.
22nd, I'm
22nd.
sorry. I'm looking at my calendar in my head and I don't see nothing.
I will be out of town, just so you know, that week, leaving the 16th, and I won't be back. I'll be out all that week of the 21st.
Why don't we stack a meeting on the 10th at 6:30 after the city budget workshop and public hearing?
Well, the public hearings, I think, are 5:30, 5:45, and then.
Budget workshop.
Okay with me.
I mean, would that work for you guys?
I'm good either way. Tuesdays won't be good for me because I'm in
This
Hawaii
is Thursday the 10th.
But I'm good any other day, anytime.
So Thursday the 10th.
I'm good with that.
And without Jerry here for input and you having said Thursdays were good for her, why don't we kind of aim for that?
For what time?
Well,
6:30.
and it's gonna be right after the budget workshop.
Sure, so maybe
So
even a little later.
Maybe even
Later,
7,
yeah.
just in case.
Good. Now, do we want to have, for future items,
I'm sorry, was that gonna be a workshop or a special meeting? for
what we will
EDC?
do is we will do like this. We'll have a special meeting and then a workshop at the end of it.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm good with that?
Yeah.
Because we need to get these COVID stimulus checks knocked out. We need to, what else do we need to do?
Update the 1920
Oh,
budget.
and, yeah.
Probably.
Okay. And then we'll take it from there.
Motion.
And I will try to put, I'll tell you what I'll do. It's gonna be kind of a long, complicated deal, but I'll try to get the EDC bylaws back in front of council again before our meeting on the 10th. I can't do it on the 3rd because there's not time to post it, but since we have meetings that day, do nothing to have a brief regular meeting with one item on it and move on from there. If I can, so we'll do the stimulus. We'll do bylaws. And about it. Anything else y'all need to get out here, need to talk about?
Motion to adjourn.
Welcome makes a motion to adjourn, Deanna seconds, all in favor? Oh, any discussion? Yes, I want to go home. All in favor? None opposed, thank you. 7:01, adjourn the meeting.